Hello, I'm Ade and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast series, Tackling It Together, brought to you by Little Blackbird, where we will be having open, honest and important conversations with some inspirational guests. So, welcome to the Little Blackbird podcast. Today we are at the mighty Chester Rugby Union Football Club, where my guest and I think we played here together.
Multiple times.
Well, probably amazing. Scored 10 tries. I probably didn't get sin-binned or sent off for back-mouthing the referee. But today we are here to have a conversation. As you know, with these podcasts, it's about speaking to real people with real stories and real perspectives. And nothing will get more real than probably your perspective, Pete. So here we got Pete Dunning. Pete and I first met in 2003.
Yeah.
At Chester University, where we met on the rugby team. You were a winger.
Wing or fullback or whatever fullback. Position I got put in, yeah.
And I was just a very gobby scrum half or on the bench, I think. But that's where we first met, and we've kept in touch over the years. That was a massive 22 years ago, I think.
Jesus
20
Christ.
odd years ago. Let's not talk about that.
I'm old.
That will be taking us back. But yeah, so we've kept in touch, and it's fair to say that you've gone through a hell of a lot in your life.
Just a wee bit.
That probably I can't relate to, maybe a lot of other people, but I know your story will relate to a lot of people who'll be watching this and hearing this today. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just to roll you in. Who would win in a fight between a camel and a llama?
Camel. You'll just squash it.
Be pissed off as well, wouldn't it? Because you'd just have the ump. Didn't even plan that. And what is, if you could have, I don't know, one superpower for one day, what would it be? And what would you do with it?
Most probably just to fly, be able to fly and go places all around the world, see the sights. I know there'll be multiple places where I won't be able to get to now. Various factors. But yeah, to go and see all the sights, all around, the beautiful sites around the world, not just here at Chester Rugby Club. But yeah, I think, and to go back to New Zealand again, I'd love to. So yeah.
When did you go there?
2011. My then partner was pregnant with a daughter, so yeah, lovely time out there.
So you're going to give us a number of perspectives today, and I know when we had the idea of starting a podcast, you were at the forefront of my mind, because if we think of what we're trying to achieve with this, is about showing two people having a real conversation. Now, your story is unbelievable when we think about what you've been through. We're going to get the perspective of you leaving uni 2004, I think, and then you went straight into the Marines.
Virtually, yeah. 2003, 2004, yeah.
So we have a perspective of the military. We have the perspective of what happened in the Marines changing the path of your life. And also, with all that adversity we're going to get into, how it's not stopped you. You've achieved things that within the sporting arena. We're going to talk about the Invictus Games. We're going to talk about what you've achieved with the GB as a Paralympic skier, all that stuff that you've achieved, and how you still get up every day and just tackle life. So where the hell do we start?
Good question.
I'll tell you where I'm going to start. We've kept in touch, but not massively in touch. You know, we've met up a few times. We've met here at the club watching games, but I reached out to you a few weeks ago and I said, this is my idea and I'd love to have you on. And in a heartbeat, you said yes. So why?
A couple of reasons. One, be good to see you again, since it's been years since we've seen each other. And two, the concept of why you wanted to do this, I thought was absolutely perfect, and you wanted my perspectives from a different point of view, and I believe that I can do that. I've gone down different paths during my life, and not all of them have been straightforward. There've been plenty of bumps along the road, and some not slightly more than bumps. But yeah, so to be able to talk about those various different things would be good for you, and for people who for people who are struggling at times, if I can help in any way, shape, or form, more than happy to do that.
And we spoke on the phone a few weeks ago, and we said it's still. We had conversations about yours and mine, and we just caught up over the years. And we said that it's not always rosy, is it? We have good days, we have dips.
Yeah, just like we're only human beings. We have good days, we have bad days, and it can be down to so many different factors during our lives. And yeah, I'm no different to anyone else. I have good days and bad days.
So let's go back. You said the other day, I said, right, how are we going to play this conversation? You said, I'm an open book. Let's just go for it. So let's go back to the time that we last met, which was 2003, the back end. You left university, and then you signed up.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that time. What happened?
So I left uni. I did 03-04 academic season, and I failed university. Basically, it was my own fault. I chose the wrong course. So I failed that. But obviously, when I was at university, I played rugby with yourself, and then came down to here, Chester, to play as well. And they asked me to come here. So I was keeping physically fit. But when I left uni, I worked in the pub trade, worked in a few pubs. I was 20 years old and I was training assistant manager of 3 different pubs. But I was bored. I was bored of the same people coming in, the same pouring the same drinks, moving the same barrels and all that. And yes, I was playing rugby, so I was keeping physically fit. But other than that, I was bored. And I wanted to be pushed. When subconsciously, I felt like I heard more and more about the Royal Marines. Obviously, Afghanistan was kicking off at that time as well. Iraq was going on as well. But so obviously all that was prevalent. But I just thought, why not? So I phoned up, asked for send me over an information pack. I read it. Mum and Dad found it. Not that I was hiding it from them, but they found it and they were like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Well, thinking about it." I'm like, all right, okay.
Well, were they all right with it?
Yeah. My dad's old and he's of the generation where he had to do national service. Um, so yeah, so they asked me why I wanted to do this, and I was told them, said I was just bored. And they were like, okay, if this is what you want to do. So I go over to Liverpool to the careers office for a chat, and next thing you know, I'm signing on the dotted line. And then start December 2005, start my training.
Wow. And how long were you in training before you got deployed on your first kind?
So the Marine training is 32 weeks long. Longest basic training. One of the longest in the world. So I started December 2005. I passed out of training September 2006. And then I was deployed to Afghanistan March 2007 for my first tour of Afghan.
You know, when you were on your training, because everyone talks about,
Mm.
there's no more grueling training than that 30-odd week period.
No.
Did you understand, or how quickly into your training did you understand your levels of resilience and your mindset? Were you surprised by it, or did you have to work on it in that period?
I think I was surprised. I was surprised, to be honest. And it hit me a couple of times, actually. Just how much. And obviously the Marines, because the big thing about us is our fitness. And yes,
Yeah.
I thought I was fit, just coming down here, playing rugby, and I went to the gym occasionally and that. But other than that, but when I went there, Jesus, it was another level.
Yeah.
Absolutely another level. And I had a couple of injuries small injuries during training. One more so than the other. I had a bad back, and I got taken off. We were on training, one of the training exercises. I got pulled out and had to go to a med centre. And the doctor there said, I'm going to have to pull you off. And I just blatantly lied to him. We were carrying full Bergen, so you're talking 50, 60, 70 pounds on your back. And we're going for 10, 15 miles. And my back was just destroyed. I was like, oh no, I'll be able to do it because we haven't got that far to go. Blah, blah. I just lied to him. Absolutely lied to him. And he was like, oh, all right, okay, you can finish this one. But at the back of that, I had to go and see the medical officer when I got back to Lympstone, where we do our training. And he nearly pulled me out of training. And I remember I went back to my room. And I broke down. And the lads are in my room, and now thankfully they got round me in that. I didn't realise just how much I wanted to do this. Because I thought I know people, and there were people in my training trip who were like, all I want to do is Marines. One lad especially, unfortunately, he died in Afghanistan, but Liverpool lad as well, lovely. But Marines was all he wanted to do, nothing else. He was Marine cadets and everything, and all that. But it wasn't as if this was a dream of mine, as I say. But at that point, I knew I wanted to do this.
Not conscious, like subconsciously, maybe it wasn't a dream, or consciously,
No,
but in that moment when you're told that it maybe couldn't happen, someone was driving you.
No, because I'd never thought about joining the military at all. I always thought I came to uni to do sports science, and that's where I wanted to go. That's where I still want to go. I love that side of sports and that. But no, it was never a dream, and it was just. But it was at that moment when I realised, right, I'm gonna do this no matter what. If I have to break myself, I will break myself, and I will do it. And again, I just lied to him. I just lied. But then, obviously, on the physical element, when we had our Bergens full and we're going on yomps for 15, 20 miles and that, I was in absolute bits. But I had to crack on.
It's interesting there when you said you pushed yourself, you lied, giving up wasn't an option, but then you broke down, and then you realised that the lads got behind me. And we all hear about the brotherhood of the military. You know, everyone says there's something. I think you don't understand it unless you experience it.
No.
So can you try and articulate what that moment when they got around you, what that demonstrated to you? Because it sounds like vulnerability wasn't really an option shown for them prior to that time.
I mean, at that moment, I was vulnerable. And and I was sitting on my bed and I was literally bawling. And then a couple of lads just came around, got on the bed, put their arms around me and said, "What is it?" And I told them, and they were like, "Right, no, you're not leaving. We will make sure that you're not leaving." The camaraderie that you have within the military, it's second to none. I mean, sports teams, they always say that's a great camaraderie in that, whatever level, from our level that we played up to professional, whatever, they're your mates, etc., etc. But in the military, it's like it's another level. Everyone knows what each other have been through the different regiments and that. People respect other people a bit more because they've done certain things or whatever. Yeah, it was those lads who helped me, who got around me, who helped me at that time in training, and who made me push myself.
And in hindsight, then you won't have known in the future how much you probably would have needed those boys and other boys around you.
Exactly that. Because I mean, at that time, obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I didn't know what was going to happen to me. But at that time, I needed that more than ever. I needed the arm around me, physically, and someone to say, "Don't worry, we'll help, whatever way, shape, or form, and you are going to do this, no matter what. We are not going to let you fail. Go wash your face, put your lid on, and crack on."
Mad, isn't it? When you have that belief from someone that says we're gonna do our bit, but you're gonna do your bit.
Yeah.
And you did. You cracked on. You came through it.
Yeah. Passed out training September 2006. Went straight to the Armour Support Company, and then deployed 6 months later.
And then when you got out there, give us a bit more of a timeline. Once you got deployed, you were out there doing it.
So we went out March 2007, and I did a 6 month tour. So we came back October 2007. And then I was back in UK for 6 months. And then I went back out for my second tour, which was meant to be 3 months, but was only 2.5 in the end.
I know this is hard. I imagine you'll have spoke about this a lot, but and you're in control as to where you go with this. Try and tell us a little bit about what happened on that second tour.
So we just finished our last mission. We'd just been up to a place which was a massive Taliban stronghold. We were supporting the parachute regiment at the time. We just finished the mission, packed everything up, and we're on the way back to Camp Bastion. And then it would have been get back, deservice the vehicles, clean them up, get everything out clean, restock, and then get on a flight home, and that would have been me, basically. But on the way back, we went into what we call a wadi, which is basically a dried up riverbed. And we were in that for 12 kilometres. But roughly of that 12 kilometres, 11 and a half, we were under contact all the way. Everything was getting fired at us, from pistols, AK-47s, grenade launchers, mortars, everything. We passed another troop of Vikings, the vehicle which I was in, along the way. They had a disabled wagon. We got down to the bottom and there was a river which we had to cross. But we got down, we turned around to form a semicircle, facing back up to give support to the other two vehicles. Right. They went through. They crossed the river first, and then we started to peel in. I was the second to last vehicle. We started to move, and that's all I remember.
And when did he come back round?
So for the first week, I have about 4 or 5 memories, all which last 1-2 seconds. The first one, I was out in Cambastian. My legs had been taken off. I looked around, I saw my friend who was in the vehicle with us. He was in the bed next to me. He was talking to Sergeant Major. And I looked around and said, "Where's Dale, my driver?"
Yeah.
And the OC turned around and said, "Well, once Mark finishes talking to Sergeant Major, I need to talk to you." Well, it was literally like 2 seconds that I remember. I know I was conscious when I got hit, because it got filmed on TV actually.
Right.
But I don't remember a thing about it.
And when he said I needed to talk to you, did you know then?
Sorry?
When he said I needed to talk to you about Dale.
Yeah.
Did the penny drop then at that moment?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as he said that, I felt at that moment, as soon as he said that, I know what's happened. Whether subconsciously I already knew.
Yeah.
But as I say, I don't remember, I think. I haven't asked a lad. There's so many lads who I could go and ask what happened. But I haven't, because it's in the past and crap time. But yeah, it's crap for everyone.
Horrendous, isn't it? But as you're looking back, I mean, how many years on now are we from that? Are we on to
16.
Oh, bloody hell.
16 years this year.
You're still in contact with the boys that you served with back then?
Yeah. I still speak to some of them every now and again. I saw one not so long ago, actually. He's a tattoo artist, and he was doing a bit of work for me, actually.
Oh,
so yeah, we had a chat about the good old days. So yeah.
I fancy getting a tattoo. I want a dolphin around my belly button. When you could sort that out. You're laughing at? Bloody hell. That's the first time I've heard you really articulate that and to go back. So if I was to drop in that word, so the reality was 2008, you came round, realised that your driver, one of your best mates, I believe, had died.
Yeah.
And you realised that you'd lost both your legs. What's going through your mind then? Or where is your head at then?
So the thing is, really, I remember a few things from being in hospital. God bless them, my mum's just didn't leave my side.
Yeah.
Mum, dad didn't leave my side. And my family were there. It was my brother, his partner at the time, and our friends kept on pouring down as well, and lads. Like once a week, I think at the time, one Sergeant Major we had, he sorted out that at least once a week, a number of lads would get in a car and drive up to see me and Mark in the hospital and that.
So give them leave to come and see you?
Yeah.
Bloody. So that's the second moment. That you said about that moment in training when you broke down, but that's the second moment where they got around you, family had got around you. Looking back now, how impactful was that? And what did that demonstration of them getting around you and, rebuilding you, what impact did that have?
I mean, at the time, I was young, dumb and single at the time and that, so Obviously, family is family, and love your family to bits and everything, and then you never realise just how much you love your family until you have a family of your own. Um, and obviously, my mum and dad have told me how they found out. They got the knock on the door, um, and they had friends around actually at the time, which, to be honest, was quite thankful, quite good for them actually.
Mm.
Um, but and then they just didn't leave my side for weeks on end. My mum phoned her boss. She was at work, used to work in a special needs school, and he said, "Right, I don't want to see you," basically. So yeah, can't remember what my dad was doing at the time, but yeah, they were just all around me all the time and never left my side, basically. Um, yeah, was just constantly there, which at times I wanted, at times I didn't. At times I just wanted for the nurses just to close curtains,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to know anyone or anything. I didn't want to be there. I don't know where I wanted to be, but it just wasn't there in that time, at that moment, at that place. Yeah, I would have paid anything just to be someone somewhere else or whatever, but that was me. Um,
So when did that? Because I know from what you've achieved that darkness did start to pass or break or something. So what were the turning points where you could kind of see the wood for the trees and move forward?
there was a there's a few turning points actually along the way. So when I got injured, as well as my legs, obviously fractured my spine, and I was laid up on hospital bed for 5 weeks. Couldn't sit up, couldn't roll over, couldn't do anything for 5 weeks. Um, and so one of the things is when I had my spinal surgery, then I could sit up. As stupid as it is, just sitting up. And I was fed up of counting the ceiling tiles. Like I went left, right, left, up, down, up, diagonally. Every other one.
Like Tetris.
Yeah, I was doing anything. I was driving myself crazy. And just literally having that and being able to sit up was one big thing for me. And another thing was there was liaison officers, military liaison officers who worked there as well, and they used to help with the families, sort the families out, make sure they had rooms to stay in when they were visiting, and they basically had a blank credit card, and so they used to go to like Domino's and takeaways and pubs and all sorts, take families out, and people in the hospital if they could. But there was one, Mark, and I remember he just walked up to me, and I was relatively newly injured actually. I hadn't had spinal surgery or anything.
Right.
And he just walked up in camouflage gear, in rig and that, and introduced himself. I said, "And don't worry, I sort of know what you're going through." I was like, "What, mate? Don't even think you can come up to me, walk up to me on two legs, and say I know what you're going through when you can see that I've got no legs." And he just sat down next to me, rolled up one of his legs, and he's got a prosthetic.
Wow.
I was like, "What?"
Was that the first time you'd seen someone else military based with a prosthetic?
With a prosthetic, yeah. And I was like, "Wow." And he just talked to me about his leg that he had at the time. He's got the same levels of amputation as I have on my left leg. So I knew, like, sort of, that is something what I'd be getting. And then from him just talking to me, I was like, right, I'm going to walk.
Because what did you get from him in that moment? Obviously, there's the common ground, but talk about that connection. That when he rolled that up and you saw that you had that connection, what did that
A future. A future that I could do things. There were things that I could still do.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's plenty which unfortunately I can't do, which I've realised over the years and that. But at that time, it was like a future. I can do things. He showed me his leg, and then he talked about what I could or would get for my other leg, and then I was like, right, that's me. I'm doing this.
It's like a switch, like just change your
Yeah.
mentality. Fucking hell. Still keep in contact with him?
Not really. Typically, I've got him on Facebook, and he's part of some military disabled charities and that. So we might occasionally bump into each other through that, but other than that, no. He's just cracking on with his life, and yeah. But yeah, him showing me his leg was a massive turning point. It was like, I'm going to walk again. So yeah.
Well, you did more than walk, pal. No. Talk about rugby, what we did, but in terms of what you've achieved. So you've got that mindset. And then you get into sport.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what that sport was and where those opportunities come from.
So after hospital, I went down to a place called Headley Court, which is the Defence Rehabilitation Centre. And when I was there, that's where you start getting better. Obviously, the hospital, you get medically better, and then there you get physically better. You're seeing therapists of different varieties, physios, occupational therapists, and for me, prosthetics and everything else. But when I was there was a scheme called Battleback, and Battleback is a scheme to help injured service personnel get back into sports, be it new sports which they've never done before, or old ones which they've done but had to be slightly adapted to help them to do it.
Right.
And there was an opportunity to go skiing in Bavaria for 2 weeks. I just thought, bugger it. Why not? Got nothing better to do. I understood how able-bodied people ski, but I had no idea on how disabled-bodied people ski. Yeah. So I just thought, why not? Put my name down, went out, and loved it. I absolutely loved it.
What was it about it that you loved? Because you think back, we played rugby, you were involved in contacts. What was it about that skiing? Had you skied before?
No.
So what was it about that you loved?
I think because he was doing something different and I was seeing a different perspective of the world, really. And I'd never done skiing, I say, so seeing different things. And I always remember when I first learned to ski, there was like this. There was a chairlift going up, and at days when the cloud was low, the chairlift went through the cloud. And because I was new to it, I was like on baby slopes and that, learning my balance and everything else. And I challenged myself. I thought, you know what, right, Wednesday next week, I want to be going up that. I've just because I was there for 2 weeks. Wednesday of the second week, I want to be going up that. Wednesday of the first week, I went up it.
Good lad.
And I was like, right. And then getting up to like the top, and then just seeing out for miles, like God knows how many miles and that, the mountain ranges and that. It was beautiful.
What was that like when you went up? You smashed your target by a week. And when you were up there looking out, you said before about that hope. When you made that decision that you were going to walk again, you were going to do that. What was that moment like looking out?
It was like a pinnacle sort of thing. It was like, and it was another thing saying, right, you can do this. You've done it. you've got up here. What's next? So don't stop. Keep going. I learned to walk. So I was walking by that point, obviously. And I was like, right, I've got up here. Let's carry on.
And you must have been pretty good at it, because from then there was other opportunities.
Yeah, from there I joined the military disabled ski team, and they not only taught me how to ski, but how to ski race.
Why, what's the difference like?
You go quicker.
Elbows out as well.
Basically, yeah. So I was learning how to ski race, doing the different disciplines of ski racing. And yeah, then I took part in my first disabled race just after the 2010 Winter Paralympics. And then from that, the points which I accrued from that got me onto the British disabled ski team after my first race.
Bloody hell. And then how many times did you compete for the GB team?
God, I wouldn't know how many races I did, to be honest. But within the first season, even though they were sort of low level races and that, but in the first season I came away with 2 golds, 1 silver, and 3 bronze medals.
Bloody hell.
And over that season, I accrued enough points and I went to World Championships in Sestria in Italy.
Bloody hell.
Against the world's best.
And here's me thinking, me and you playing against Keele University was the highlight of your sporting world.
Yeah.
Mate, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, you're smashing it there in the skiing.
Yeah.
So then I know, and I did say this, and this is pretty unique, you got involved in the Invictus Games. So how did that come about, and what was it like? And in fact, people might not know what that is.
So the Invictus Games is set up by Prince Harry. It's for the wounded, injured, and sick military. I think like the Paralympics, but it's just for the military basically. And it's a fantastic thing. It's been going since 2014, I think it is. And I took part in 2018. And I was fortunate enough to have 2.5 weeks down in Sydney.
Wow. What was that like?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Luckily as well, you get to take two friends and family with you. So at that time, just not long before I went, I split up with my wife. So we were separated and that, which was tough, needless to say. So I went out with my mum.
Of course you did.
Mum came out. My dad was unfortunately not in the best of health, so he wouldn't have been able to cope with the flights or anything else.
Right.
But yeah, so she came out and I had an absolute blast.
She
loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was worried about my mum because obviously everyone had someone else to be there with them. If it was like their mum and dad or their partner and their mum or whatever. But it was just my mum. But my mum being my mum, she went round, spoke to anyone and everyone and made friends of God knows how many other people.
That must have been amazing for her. She'd stood right by you when it all got really real.
Yeah.
And then she was right by you when you were achieving amazing things.
Yeah. Yeah, she had the absolute time of her life out there.
Did she get smashed into the hotel minibar?
I don't know. But one worrying thing I did have is, so on Facebook there's a group for ex-Marines who have emigrated to either Australia and New Zealand. And they always try and get together around the core birthday. which is the 28th of October.
Yeah.
The Invictus Games was just before, it was literally just before, just before the core birthday. And so this group of blokes decided, right, instead of just having a long weekend, which they normally do, they just get smashed. Fancy dress and get absolutely smashed. They thought, right, we're making it even longer. So they did like a week and came to the Invictus Games.
Ugh.
And so I spoke to a couple of them on Facebook, and they came. I told them that I was doing the wheelchair rugby and said, right, we'll be there. And then one of them, I just finished a match or something, and before my first match, I had never met these blokes before at all, and that I spoke to them online, and that was it. And it just so happened to be that my mum was sitting like here, and all these ex Marines, ex bootnecks, were in a crowd literally right next to her. And one of them messaged me. I said, "We've just met your mum. She's absolutely hoofing. We're getting round it." And I'm like, "Oh my god! Oh no! What's going to happen? My mum's going to be absolutely wasted from this."
What leg of the boat race did she do?
Literally that. And I remember I came out for like must have been the first match or something, and I saw them all with the Marine flags. And the UK contingency were like just there as well. And my mum was like, "That's him, that's him, that's him." So, it was amazing.
It's class just seeing you light up when you think back to that.
Yeah.
Because that was unbelievable. And I remember when the charity started and the event started, I thought, unbelievable.
It was an amazing thing which Prince Harry done, and I hope it continues for many, many years to come, because it's helped so many people, including myself. I joined up at a dark point, I say, because I was going through separation, and that helped me getting into the sport. Sports has always been my thing, as you know. Yeah. So getting into sports and meeting new people, making new friends, new family, new brothers. Yeah.
Wheelchair rugby. And I watched a bit of the rugby league wheelchair rugby not so long back on the telly, and I thought it was brutal. What was that like, playing wheelchair rugby compared to the rugby that we always grew up with?
Obviously, it's a totally different ball game, really. But you think how hard that you want to tackle someone in rugby union, like we used to play. Some of the hits that I can think back to certain people and how hard they used to hit, and literally the person would be on the deck for about 5 minutes, still winded. You just smash people in a wheelchair just like that, as hard as you want. I've topped people out of their chair, topped people over a couple of times. A couple of times sparks have flied off as well because we've hit so hard and that. So,
class.
Yeah.
What I do want to ask is, we've both got 2 kids. Yours are a little bit older than mine.
Yeah.
We've gone through thinking about everything that you've gone through, and now all the vulnerability that you've tackled and harnessed. What impact has that had you on your role as a dad?
I want to make sure that my kids have the best life possible. I'm quite lucky that my kids know me only like this. They don't know me previously. But my kids are the reason why I get up every day, more than anything. And yeah, I've separated from the mum, so I get them 50% of the time. But so when I don't have them, like today, actually, they've just come back to the mum. So sometimes I have the Monday blues.
Right.
But yeah, they're the best things ever. They push me harder than anyone else.
Well, that's took me back to the last time I saw you. It was in M&S a few years ago. You were with the kids.
Randomly, yeah.
You were with the kids. I think they were pushing you that day as well.
Oh, they were a pain in the backside. Just as kids can be.
Bloody hell. So on these, you said you were open book. You have been, and I knew you would be, and thanks for being so open and honest. At the end of these podcasts, we like to do a little blackbird worm of wisdom. So that's your advice. So, and that could be advice to anyone. So what would be your little blackbird worm of wisdom, Pete?
I've got 2 little bits actually. That's all right.
Yeah.
First one is, if you're speaking to a mate, ask them whether they're okay. But then ask them again. Ask them how they properly are. Because you message someone and say, oh, how's things? Yeah, all right.
It's easy, isn't it, to answer that?
It's so easy to just say, yeah, it's fine. And second one is, if you're not all right, don't be afraid to say it. It's in nature for people to help each other.
Mm.
People will help. Don't be afraid to ask.
Mate, you've smashed it. Thanks for being so open and honest.
No worries.
All the best. Keep smiling, pal. Thanks very much.
All right.
I hope you enjoyed tackling it together, brought to you by Little Blackbird. If you did, then please hit the subscribe button, give us a follow on our socials, Little Blackbird Limited. Also, please give us a like and comments on any thoughts that you may have. Let's get these important topics out there and encourage some meaningful, authentic conversations. See you next time. Cheers, and remember, keep smiling.